Days after Ukraine received delivery of US-made cluster bombs, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned, Moscow too has a stockpile of various types of cluster munitions and will consider using them against Ukraine if they are used against us. If they are used against us, we reserve the right to mirror actions, CNN quoted Putin as saying. Notably, Washington's decision to send cluster bombs to Kyiv turned controversial and was criticized by human rights groups. Let's see why. Cluster munitions or cluster bombs are particularly dangerous to civilians and non-combatants when fired near populated areas because they scatter explosive material, so-called bomblets, across large areas. Those that fail to explode on impact can detonate years later, posing a long-term risk to anyone who encounters them, similar to landmines, according to CNN reports. Cluster munitions contain multiple explosives that are released over an area up to the size of several football fields. They can be dropped from a plane or launched from the ground or sea. The sub-munitions are released in flight and fall to the ground. They can range from tens to many hundreds. They are designed to explode on impact, but as many as a third don't, and remain a deadly risk to civilians for years to come. 94% of recorded cluster bomb casualties are civilians, of which almost 40% are children, CNN reported. They have been known to cause grievous injuries months or even years after the fighting ends, often among children who pick up duds and that did not explode when initially dropped. The danger posed by cluster weapons has prompted more than 100 countries, including the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, to sign a treaty prohibiting their use. US President Joe Biden has said that the decision to send cluster munitions to Ukraine was very difficult, but he opted to do so because Kyiv needs more ammunition to continue its fight to push Russian troops out of Ukraine territory. Ukraine is running out of stock of arms and ammunition, he was quoted as saying by CNN. A top official at the US Defense Department said Ukraine gave assurances in writing that it would not use the cluster munitions in urban areas. Putin further said the Biden administration had called the use of cluster munitions a war crime and that he agreed with that assessment. Although Putin didn't specify the statement, former White House press secretary Jen Psaki said last year at the outset of the conflict, reports of Russia's use of cluster bombs, if confirmed, would constitute a war crime. Putin has also claimed that Russia has not yet used cluster munitions, despite evidence to the contrary. Earlier in March, the United Nations said it had compiled credible reports that Russian forces had used cluster munitions in populated areas at least 24 times. It was also found last year that the Kremlin fired 11 cluster rockets at Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, during the war's opening days. By the way, the interest shown by the US and other European countries to send arms and weapons to Ukraine smacks of some vested interests. Do these countries want to sell their weapons to Ukraine to reap commercial benefit, or do they want to corner, isolate, and destroy Russia? It also seems that these countries don't want to see an end to the Russia-Ukraine war very soon for the above facts.